Vocal folds are really good at repairing themselves, but if you're giving them constant bashing, it's more difficult. So if you're a singer and you're using your voice a lot, you'll be very aware of when it's not really working as well as you are used to or as well as you'd like. Hello, I'm Ginevra Williams, and I'm a singing teacher and a voice scientist and a voice rehabilitation specialist. I'm going to talk about vocal health and begin with a context of vocal health and what we are really talking about with health and wellness in the human. And it really helps to look at this with a biopsychosocial perspective. What is biopsychosocial? Bio is the biomedical and biomechanical. So the biomedical is everything about your health. It'll be about your hormones. It'll be whether you're on any medications. It's whether you have had any injuries. It's your genetics. The biomechanical will be the way that you use your body. So it'll be your technique, your habits, what you've been taught, your level of fitness. Then the psychological is your mental state. It's your stress levels. It's whether you have cognitive performance anxiety. It'll be your belief systems, your own perception of your voice, how you perceive other people's view of your voice. And then the sociological is the environment that you're in. So that can be whether you're singing in a big room or a small room. It can be whether you are in a choir or on your own. It can be what's going on with your family life while you're learning. It can be where you live. It can be your rehearsal schedule. It can be all of those external factors which influence your voice. And they are all related and they all overlap with each other. And if we look at one small part and make an adjustment or something changes, it will shift around to everything that you're doing. So when you're looking at your vocal health and wellness, you do also need to look at the broader picture. For example, why would higher levels of anxiety affect what's going on in your larynx? If you are slightly anxious, and I'm not talking about extreme anxiety, I'm talking about just low-level, chronic levels of anxiety, when you're just a bit worried for quite a lot of the time. What is going on in your body is you've got slightly raised levels of cortisol. You are functioning a little bit more in your sympathetic nervous response, which is the fight-flight nervous response. Your body is getting ready to defend itself. It's getting ready to run away. So everything in your body is on high alert. If you're a bit worried, your body is automatically getting ready to do something, which means that all of the muscles in your body are in a slight holding state. Now, you may not notice that at all in going about your daily life. You might think you're pretty chilled, quite relaxed. But if there's a low-level worry, you're going to be holding on a bit. And the parts of your body that you are using a lot and that you are really noticing how well they're working are going to be the parts where you notice it's not working as well. So if you're a singer and you're using your voice a lot, you'll be very aware of when it's not really working as well as you are used to or as well as you'd like. So if you have low-level chronic anxiety, you will be having holding patterns in your body. This means that you won't be using your voice at its absolute optimum, at its balanced, free function. There'll be holding patterns. And if you are using those holding patterns while you sing, that inefficiency in the voice use is going to mean that things get tired more quickly. If things get tired more quickly, you then run the risk of getting injuries more easily. So that is one example of why a bit of worrying at one end of your life can have an impact on your voice at another part of your life. Why does fatigue in the vocal folds make a difference? We talk about vocal loading to describe this. Vocal loading is the amount of stress and strain that your larynx is under. And vocal loading is increased with the amount of use, so literally the number of collisions per day. So the amount of voice use for how long you're talking, for how long you are singing, will increase your vocal loading. The level of use will increase your vocal loading, so that is how loudly you're using your voice. If you are using your voice loudly, the vocal fold collisions are greater and for longer per cycle and harder. So a loud voicing is more tiring on the vocal folds. The third factor is anxiety levels. So if you increase your anxiety levels and or you increase the loudness and or you increase the amount of use, any of those will increase the vocal loading. The vocal loading, the amount of stress or strain that the vocal folds are under, is partly to do with the actual impact and partly to do with the vibrations going through the vocal folds. When you are using your voice, your vocal folds are colliding many, many times, hundreds of times a second. Every time they collide, if you think about it, it's like clapping your hands together. There's a little bit of damage done to the cells on the surface. If you're doing that repeatedly over time, that cellular damage will get to a point where you can't repair at the rate at which you are causing the damage. Vocal folds are really good at repairing themselves, but if you're giving them constant bashing, it's more difficult, and they need a bit of time to repair themselves. When the cells on the surface of the vocal folds are repairing themselves, what happens is, with the healing process, is fluid coming in. Any healing process, any healing response to inflammation, to damage, will cause inflammation because of the fluid coming in to the site to help the cells to regenerate. If you cut yourself, if you look on either side of the cut, there's always a little raised part. That's the extra fluid coming into the site as part of the healing process. If you have a sting from an insect or a plant, little raised lump will appear. Again, that is part of the healing. So inflammation is a very normal response to localized trauma. But that inflammation in itself means that the vibration of the vocal folds is less efficient. They can't wobble as easily if they're slightly inflamed. So we then get into a cycle where you increase the localized damage, which then increases the inflammation, which means that the vocal folds are less flexible. So you have to push and bash them together a bit more. and then you get back around to more damage and more impact. So it can be a cyclical thing, and you can get more and more tired, and if you do this over time and don't give yourself time to heal, that's when you can be in trouble. What can we do to help our vocal folds recover more easily from that impact? One thing we know we can do is space our vocal rest so that we have more periods of rest, but maybe for shorter. If you think about an hour of voice use, I imagine you've got 40 minutes of voicing and 20 minutes of not voicing. So in a rehearsal, that might be 20 minutes when other people are singing, or 20 minutes when the conductor is talking, or it might be a singing lesson where 20 minutes is the teacher talking. Your 40 minutes of voicing will be much more easy for you to manage if you split it up into lots and lots of small pieces. So instead of 40 minutes of voice and 20 minutes of rest, it's going to be much, much more effective to split that 20 minutes of rest into 5 4-minute rest periods, for example. So mini breaks, spacing for pacing. Plan your practice to give you mini breaks. Plan your singing lessons to have mini breaks. Plan your choir rehearsals to have mini breaks. If you're a classroom teacher, plan your lesson delivery so that your voice has those mini breaks all the way through, and your recovery will be easier, faster. Another way that you can help recover from vocal fold inflammation is very slow pitch glides through your voice. If you glide from the very bottom to the very top and back down again, very gently, on a semi-occlusion, so a buzz, a lip trill, a v, or a boo, any of those sounds, that will help to stretch and massage the vocal folds. Any soft tissue injury will recover more effectively with stretch and massage. If you sprain your ankle, you're told to keep it moving gently, but keep it moving. If you are bitten by an insect, what do? You rub it, you stretch and massage, because it helps to reduce the inflammation. So to stretch and massage your vocal folds, the pitch glide is the stretch, and the very gentle vocalizing is the massage. So we've got our spacing, we've got pitch glides. Another thing from research into voices shows that if you are physically fit, you heal faster. Because of the metabolism of the fit body, it's to do with the processing of CO2 and oxygen. That more efficient metabolism means that inflammation will reduce more quickly. So fit singers heal faster. So there are ways that you can reduce that inflammation of the vocal folds. If you reduce that inflammation, you will then be able to sing for longer, more easily.